Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Robert A. Enos. Hey, listen, I have something really interesting to share with you before we get into the rest of this podcast. I came across some music, and you probably already heard some of it, and you'll hear these in my intro and exits on some of my podcasts from here on out. And this is, it's really interesting. This is like heavy metal, but gospel music and our hymns. One is Battle Belongs, How Great Thou Art, Victory in Jesus, and Waymaker. Those are the 4 songs. I won't have them all on the same episode, of course, but you will hear those. And I thought it was just really profound music. So if you're wondering who put that out, go to Seth Drums. Seth Drums on Instagram, and Seth Drums on Facebook. He's also on Spotify, and I purchased these things off of iTunes. Now, I did get written permission. He gave me written permission to use his songs, for my podcast. But I promised him that I would point people to him and to his music, to his work. So please check him out on Facebook, check him out on Spotify, check him out on Instagram, iTunes, Seth Drums. If you just type in Seth Drums, it should come up to him. Can't miss him. He usually, in a lot of his videos, doing the music, he's playing the drums, Seth Drums, and he's got this bright, like neon green headband on. So find neon green headband drummer Seth Drums. God bless you all. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, your favorite apostle, Robert A. Enos. The A stands for awesome. I think I've already told you that. And if you don't remember, well, I'm awesome. Hey, we had our primaries, primary elections just yesterday. And we're about a full day, almost a full day. I think out here the polls closed at 8 p.m. if I remember correctly. And now here it is, 6 p.m. Wednesday, June 3rd. Man, it's June already, ladies and gentlemen. June. This year is flying by for me. But anyways, so one full day, we got pretty much all the results from the elections even including in California. They do the slow count, and so I think pretty much where it sits right now is where it sits right now, or where it's going to sit. So I just want to share some thoughts and some ideas on these elections because, we're at a very pivotal point here in California, especially for you conservatives, and us, I should say conservatives. We're at a pivotal point, and we want to really take this state back so that we can take our nation back fully and turn it red. By the way, if it looks like I'm just chilling today, I'm just kind of chilling right now. What happened was I was going to do a episode yesterday. I was all geared up, ready to go, but we have a school here that meets at the church, and they're having some events here in the room just next to me. And so there was quite a bit of noise, so I didn't want to get on the camera or get into the microphone and have to deal with that. So I put it off until today. But then I was informed that they were still going to be there working and setting up for this performance that they're doing, their end of the year performance. So it was a little frustrating for me, not necessarily aimed at the kids or something, because, it's an agreement we have, and kids are kids and love the kids, and we want them to have a great performance. Just, I really wanted to come on here and talk about some things. And so with the elections now, I want to talk about the elections. So it's a little bit later in the day than I normally would do this, mainly because, well, now everybody's gone. No noise. It's just me and you, and we can jump into this. I went to the gym earlier today, and this is what I wore to the gym. And when I was done with the gym and I ate, I said, well, let me just go do a podcast. And it's like, normally I would shower and clean and put on a clean shirt and everything for this, but I said, I don't really have time. I want to get this done. So I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, that you have to look at my skinny arms, but this is more about the content than it is what shirt I'm wearing. And I'm wearing my John Deere hat. Why am I wearing a John Deere hat? Because as you can see, I don't have enough shade up there to keep the sun off my head. So I usually wear a cap when I'm out in the sun. And especially when I'm, I've been working out or working in the sun or anything like that. Like I said, I'm just kind of gross. I need to take a shower. But thank God that you can only see me. So anyways, with that, let's go on. So here's one of the big ones in the California primary elections was governor. And we are wanting to get we're getting a new governor one way or another. Come November, we're going to have a new governor one way or another because Newsom is termed out. He can't run, at least for governor, anymore. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. One of the most strange, perverted people I've ever seen. Some people try to hide their perversion. He doesn't. He puts it on full display, and I don't know why. It's almost like some kind of witchcraft spell, but a lot of people just eat it up. He can say the dumbest things, the most wicked things, past the most wicked things. Like one thing that I think everybody now knows is California has the highest gas prices in the nation. And even when gas prices have gone up, ours have really gone up. Some places paying upwards of $7 a gallon for gas. Most of it's right around, the upper fives, like $5.89, and some just a little over $6, 19. I don't know why it always ends with a 9, but $6.19, $6.29, $6.39. So we're right up there. And a lot of people say, oh, it's all Trump's fault. Well, this war that we're going in, and they will come down. The prices will come down. But it's not all Trump's fault. It's directly Newsom and the Democrats that work with Newsom in Sacramento here in California. We have the highest gas taxes and the worst roads. The gas tax is supposed to take care of the roads. We have the worst roads and the highest taxes. You talk about fraud? That's the perversion I'm talking about. Okay, not just other kinds of perversion. But perversion financially, perversion in all these different places have the highest gas taxes and the worst roads. And the tax for the gas is supposed to take care of the roads. So how is it that we have the worst roads but the highest taxes? And we're paying, somewhere right around $6 or a little bit over, for the most part, $6 a gallon for gas. And we can go right across the border into the next state and pay somewhere about $3.50-ish for gas. Even right now, when the nation is paying more for gas, we're paying the most. Anyways, it's just ridiculous. So there's some kind of strange witchcraft, and I'm serious about this. I'm not just saying this. There's a witchcraft kind of spell surrounding Newsom and the Democrats in there because these are such wicked people. How did they get voted in the first place, and how do they keep winning elections? I'm telling you, it's a witchcraft. And again, I don't say this lightly, but I'm serious. Witchcraft runs deep in the Democrat Party. We're not talking about pointy black hat, wart on the nose, stirring a cauldron with newt eyes and bat wings. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just that weird, that narcissistic, Jezebel kind of weird witchcraft that surrounds them. And anyways, there's so much confusion and perversion surrounding the Democrats here in California and pretty much everywhere. It's a Democrat thing. But anyways, let me move on. So we, again, governor primaries. This is the primary, and I'm going to show you some of the results, the California governor primary results 2026. And I'm reading this from NBC News. And the reason I chose NBC is because I didn't want anybody to say, oh, yeah, but you're reading from a conservative rag or a conservative thing. And they're always going to lie. NBC, pretty liberal, okay? So it shows that so far, the top of the, if you will, the primary results is Steve Hilton, who is a Republican, at 27.6% of the votes. He had 27.6% of the votes. He had 1,421,466 votes. In second place, not too far behind him, Xavier Becerra, Democrat, with 1,318,536 votes, and that's at 25.6%. So Hilton at 27.6, Becerra at 25.6. Then Tom Steyer was third. He had 19.8% of the votes. That's 1,019,332. So he's quite a ways back there. Now, again, in California, it's the top two. So who's going on to November? Steve Hilton and Xavier Becerra. All right, I'm just giving you the rest for a reason. So Tom Steyer, again, 19.8%. Chad Bianco, Democrat. I'm sorry, so forgive me. I don't know why I said that because it clearly says right there, GOP. So he's a Republican, Chad Bianco. Please forgive me, Chad, if you ever hear this. I really did not mean that. And he only got 11.3% of the vote at 580,389. So Steve Hilton got the way I'm looking, about 800,000 more votes, roughly. So he was quite a ways out there. Then Katie Porter, 4.6% of the votes, and Matt Mahon. I don't even know. I don't think I've ever even heard this guy. And there's reasons for it. I was focusing mainly on Hilton and Bianco this whole time, anyway. So, and the rest from there. I said Matt Mahon, 4.1. The next, Antonio Villaraigosa, 1.3%, and then from there, it's not even a full percent. All the way down to the person at, some of them got 0%. They didn't get any. I guess they did get some votes. It's just so low it didn't even really register. Okay. So the two that are going on to November is Steve Hilton and Xavier Becerra. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. If you don't live in California, if you live in California, let me focus on those who live here. California is a phenomenal state as far as the state goes, but it's the worst state as far as the politics go. It is so strange. I don't know. I do not understand how a state that has so much going for it on so many different levels. We are one of the most, if not the most beautiful, we are the most beautiful because we have the full, we have mountains. So people say, well, our mountains are better. Okay, but we have beaches. And some states that have beautiful mountains can't say that. We also have beautiful deserts. If you're a state that has beautiful mountains, you really can't say that you have beautiful deserts. Most states are like this, where we have mountains. That's pretty much it. We have desert. Well, that's pretty much it. We, for the most part, I'm not saying 100%, but we have some of the most beautiful deserts, some of the most beautiful mountains, some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. In that sense, the postcard, we have a beautiful state. Okay, and I know a lot of Californians come under attack or scrutiny because, quite frankly, we have a bunch of just rude, nasty people in California, but we also have some of the greatest people in California, wonderful people in California. And so we have great people, we have great geography, mountains, beaches, literally where I live, about an hour to the southeast, I'm in the mountains. And if it's wintertime, I'm up in the snow, but I could be up in the mountains. I could be about 8,000 feet. If I go about an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours, depending on it, to the west, I'm at the ocean. I go up north a little ways, which is much longer going up north, but there's beautiful mountains, beautiful ski resorts, beautiful camping grounds, beautiful hunting areas, gorgeous. I'm talking about gorgeous. We have Mount Whitney, the tallest mountain in the continental USA. And not too far from that, we have Death Valley, the lowest point in the continental USA. Beautiful. Like I said, it's a great state. But what people are running from when they're running from California is the politics and how expensive it is here because of the politics, which means it comes down to the politicians. Newsom and his cronies have all but destroyed this state. I'm serious. So we need change. Now, change is coming, okay, in the sense of who's in there. But we need to make sure that we get somebody that's not a Newsom, not like him in any way. So the reality of it is, how do you do that? We can't get another Democrat in there. We just simply cannot get another Democrat in there. And so Xavier Becerra, he's at 25.6. He's going to November along with Hilton. And he's a Democrat. And I haven't really followed him, but I've listened to enough to know who he really is and what he's really about. He's basically Newsom with an accent. It's just the truth. He's Newsom with an accent. The same kind of wicked, evil policies, the same kind of dim-witted nonsense that he wants to push that Newsom has been pushing all along. As a matter of fact, there's rumors floating around, and I don't think it's really just rumors, that Newsom is about to raise our gas tax yet again. So, Xavier Becerra is going to just step in and just basically continue Newsom on economics, Newsonomics. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I got tongue twisted there. So it's going to go from Newsonomics to Becerra-onomics, and it's not going to get any better unless we get a Republican in there. Now, I know. Hey, I'm a realist. I know a lot of people don't like Steve Hilton, and maybe for good reasons, maybe not. I do know this, that a lot of reasons why, a lot of people don't like Steve Hilton because of the lies that have been floating around about him. They started buying into the lies. I'll give you an example. There was some word that there was a Democrat pact that funded Steve Hilton to the tune of 500 million. Was it million? No, 500,000. I'm sorry, $500,000. Still a lot of money. And so we looked it up. Not just myself, but others around me looked it up. And there was there was $500,000 given by a Democrat pact to a group to oppose Steve Hilton, not support him, not get him elected, but try to keep him from being elected. They gave, what's 500? $500,000 to keep Steve Hilton from being elected. And unfortunately, a lot of conservatives, a lot of Republicans bought into that lie, and it was just a flat lie. You can look it up, ladies and gentlemen. It's there on Google. You can look it up. All of this is, it's there for the public to see. You can find out where any one of these candidates, win or lose, where the money came from, and even in many ways how they spent it. So anyways, this lie went out. A lot of conservatives bought it, and a lot of conservatives still bought it. Still buy it now, even after the election, and after it's been proven over and over and over and over again that it was just a lie, and many still want to buy into it. It's ridiculous. And the reason I'm saying is this: we got to let go of this nonsense, ladies and gentlemen. I'm speaking to conservatives right now. We've got to let go of it. We got to take a deep breath. Hey, maybe your guy didn't get in. And you know what? Speaking about Chad Bianco, or speaking to the Chad Bianco situation, I said this in an earlier podcast. When I first heard, as a matter of fact, Chad Bianco was the first person running for governor that I heard. I heard him at a friend's church, not too far from here. And I really liked him. And at that moment, I said, "Wow, this guy. If the election was happening that next day, I would have voted for him, certainly." And so I listened to him. He was strong. And then, as far as the Republicans are concerned, Steve Hilton comes around, and I hear him, and I said, well, I like him too. So to me, at that moment, it was sort of a toss-up, but I was still leaning towards Chad Bianco in a very strong way for a lot of reasons. What he said, what he stands on, the fact that he is a Riverside County sheriff, so he's got leadership skills, and and I felt like, hey, he's going to go into Sacramento and lay down the law. You know what I mean, and clean up Sacramento. When I say Sacramento, not just the city, but our capital, and what that capital does and what it represents. So I was still leaning towards him, but I started seeing that, well, Hilton was the front runner. In other words, his polling numbers were far better than Chad Bianco. So I started leaning towards Hilton for one reason. A lot of people say, oh, so you compromised, you're backed out, you're a traitor. How am I a traitor? I'm looking at the good of California, not the good of one candidate. So I started leaning towards Steve Hilton, and we actually were able to have Steve Hilton out at the church, but at our Republican meeting at the church. And I actually got to sit down and talk to him kind of off the wire, personal, one-on-one, not long, but long enough to go, I connect with this guy in so many ways. I'm not saying I agree with everything, okay? I'm not saying he's that 100% candidate, not at all. I'm saying that he's going to be good for California. And I'm going back, not just because of the results yesterday, but back a few weeks, he was most electable. And we're at that place, California, conservatives in California, where we can't throw away our vote. See, because what I did is I crunched some number. Well, I'll talk about that in just a moment. So, Mr. Bianco, I really appreciate what you've done. As a matter of fact, I want to read something, ladies and gentlemen. I wrote this and I put it on my Facebook account earlier today because, and I mean this, I mean this. So I want to read this about this election in general. And I pray that, Mr. Bianco, that you're able to hear this and your followers, are able to hear this. And I got to say something about the followers of Bianco. They really stuck with you, sir. They really did. Your supporters really stuck with you. And I can appreciate that. They really stood up with you and they stood up for you. But the only thing I'll say to that is not to put anybody down at all, of course, in that, but to say, but now we're this side of this primary. Steve Hilton is going. He's the only Republican on the ticket right now. I really wish it came down to Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton. Yeah, honestly, I really wanted those two at the top. But we now must stand behind the only Republican in the race. So here's what I posted on Facebook earlier. Here we are just one day after the election. We may not have the final numbers for the candidates, but we pretty much know how things will turn out. This race, interestingly, was almost exactly as the polls had been showing. Okay, and that's important because for a long time, many were saying, hey, to one of the candidates, in general, you need to back out and support Steve Hilton. Been saying this about Chad Bianco, and no, the polls are a lie, the polls are askew, and I agree, they can be. They really can be. But this all ended basically the way the polls said all along. I'm just pointing that out because of the obvious. Anyways, some are very happy about the results while others are confused and angry. I get it. However, when looking at the results, it's as the old saying goes, it is what it is. I'm not trying to brush it away as if it's not important, ladies and gentlemen. It just is what it is. This is what the hand that we have been dealt with. None of us should take these results lying down, nor should we walk away from this election as if it's over. We still have November. We still must win at the ballot box when the votes are counted. And we don't have much time to score major victories in California and the USA because November is coming fast. Addressing Chad Bianco and the Bianco supporters, my hat goes off to you. Mr. Bianco's campaigned hard, put in the work, did his job, and won the hearts and respect of many. Thank you for your run, and know that it isn't over for you. You have barely begun. We need you to help get California back on track by wrestling California from the grip of those who hate and despise who we are and what we stand for. We still need you in the fight, and I mean that, Mr. Bianco. And Bianco supporters, we need you all of you in the fight to get California back on track. Conservatives, this is not a time for division among our ranks. We still have an uphill battle between now and November. We must rally the troops by getting behind Steve Hilton. Together with single heart and purpose, we must defeat the liberal machine and destroy the wickedness that has plagued California for too long. We must unite. Steve Hilton is not your favorite choice? I get it. Mr. Hilton may not be your favorite candidate, but right now he is the best we have and the only conservative in the running. We cannot afford to lose momentum by being divided in this. Whatever you personally think of Steve Hilton, keep in mind that he is the only conservative and he is running against a far left-leaning liberal who is not very far behind him. After yesterday's election, most of the candidates had been eliminated, and now all the liberals that voted for other candidates, other liberal candidates, will be voting for Xavier Becerra. Just by virtue of no other Democrat to vote for, all those votes that went to other Democrats will now go to Becerra in November. Republicans, conservatives, we need you now more than ever. Without all of us pulling together, we could lose California. We must come together as one. And as I was writing that, I was thinking of that scene. I believe it was in, Gladiator. Remember when they were taken into the arena and Russell Crowe's character, he was like the only one that really had the experience to fight, and he was trying to bring them together so they could survive. And there was that shout, as one, and then they were able to survive. And we have to have that kind of mentality. You may not like the results, but listen, if we walk away from this now or we don't unite as one, we're going to lose California completely, not just another 4 years, but we will lose it completely because you see how bad things are going and you hear what they want to do. They make no bones about it. They're not hiding their policies and what they want. So, as one, congratulations to all the conservative candidates that poured their heart and soul into the election. Thank you for your hard work and diligence, but the fight isn't over. November will be here before you know it. Let's make California red. Let's take our state back from the fraudulent left and put it back into the hands of we the people. We got this. So that's what I put out there, and that's my heart. That's what I want. This isn't a time to be divided. This isn't a time to, square off in different camps. This is a time to say, Steve Hilton, you're the top. You're at the top of the ticket. You won. You're going to be one of the two that goes to November. We're getting behind Steve Hilton 100%. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, again, when I say I get it, I get it. If he's not your cup of tea, I understand that. However, is Becerra your cup of tea? I mean, if it comes down to it, is Becerra your cup of tea? Because those are the only two options for California governor, Steve Hilton and Xavier Becerra. That's it. You're either going to get a very, very, very far left-leaning liberal, or maybe he's just a moderate conservative. But a moderate conservative on his worst day is still better than a left-leaning liberal on his best day. There's no comparison. So let's get behind Steve Hilton and really push this and make this thing happen in November. I also want to talk to you about, you know what? Before I go on with that, let me read to you something else. Now, this, honestly, when I wrote what I did and I posted what I did, what I just read to you, it was something I had been thinking about, but then I opened up Facebook this morning just to see what's going on, especially with the elections. And one of the young ladies at our church. Her name is Denise. She wrote this on her Facebook. And it really motivated me to, you know what, I need to kind of add to that or put something on there similar. So she wrote, I'm going to say this once. Over the last several months, there was a lot of division between Bianco and Hilton supporters. Passion is understandable, but we truly want to see meaningful change. Humility must be greater than pride. The primary is behind us. Now is the time to unite. We have an opportunity in front of us, but opportunities are only realized when people are willing to come together around a common goal. Continuing to attack one another, rehash old arguments, or hold grudges serves no one and moves us no closer to the future we all want. I have no interest in criticizing those who criticized us. That only keeps the division alive. Instead, let's choose something better. Let's choose unity. Let's choose humility. Let's choose to work together, because this is bigger than any one candidate. It's about our families. It's about our community. It's about our future, the future of California. Real change won't come through pride. It will come through people willing to lock arms, extend grace, and move forward together. Let's get to work. Totally agree. So that's Denise. I won't give you her last name because I don't know that she wants me to get her last name out there. Maybe she does. And I think I'm going to have her come on the podcast real soon where we can talk not just about this, but about other things, because she's very plugged into our community in a powerful way. And she has a lot to share that will really help a lot of people. And so she triggered me, ladies and gentlemen. I read that and I got triggered. And so I sat down in front of my tablet, typed up what I just read to you, and I posted it on Facebook. You can go find it, Robert Enos or Rob. I think mine's under Rob Enos, but it doesn't matter. So where am I? We talk about the governor race. Oh, here we are. I also want to talk to you briefly about the state assembly State assembly race, especially District 34, which district I'm in, because a gentleman that I have come to know and appreciate very much, Charles Hughes, he won. He's out front, and I'm very, 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 very happy about that. Very happy about that. And he's going to take it in November. Okay, he's just going to take it in November. But again, we need to get behind him, because I want to share something with you about uniting behind a single candidate and really pushing that single candidate. What could happen if we get behind a single candidate and really make, as a friend used to say to me, put some points on the scoreboard. So let me read this. Drinking my iced coffee. So Charles Frederick Hughes. Now this is California Assembly District 34. Okay. So Charles Hughes, let me get a little bit closer. He had 37.8% of the vote. Okay, 37.8. And he's a Republican, conservative Republican. Now a Democrat, Democrats. Randall Putz, he got 37.1. He's just barely by. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at this and he's not even. Oh, let's see. Charles Hughes got 24,396 votes. And Randall Putz got 23,947 votes. So what is that? Somewhere around a little over 400 votes. Yeah, a little over 400 votes. Now, there was two other Republicans running. Okay. Steve Fox. Oh, Lord have mercy. Steve Fox, that got 19.9% of the vote. Okay, and then Manny Lynn, which got 5.2% of the vote. So, I heard a lot about Manny in this sense. I have no idea what he stands for other than being a Republican. So I'm assuming he stands on conservative principles. I heard he was a great guy. I heard he was just a super nice guy, a great guy. And that's about it. You know, very interesting and kind of strange in that sense. But anyways, so Charles at the top, 37.8. Then Steve Fox, the next Republican, who was in third. So he's out of the running, 19.9, and Manny Lynn at 5.2. I did the math earlier, ladies and gentlemen. As a matter of fact, I think somebody, here it is. So let's just break it down like this, okay? We're Democrat and Republican for the State Assembly, District 34. The Democrat, 37.1% of all the total votes that were cast in this district. The Republicans, now remember there was three of them, so this is split up three ways. 62.9% of the overall vote was Republicans in this same district. In the state of California, if a candidate gets 51% of the vote in the primaries, they win automatically. They don't have to go to the November general election because they just won at 51%. The Republicans, again, this is split up three different ways, got 62.9. Can you imagine? 62.9%. So can you imagine if everybody, and Charles was the front runner the whole time. All the polls, all the polling, all the data and everything says Charles was going to be the top Republican. That was just well known in this district. It wasn't an issue. So could you imagine if Steve Fox, listen to me, Steve Fox and you Steve Fox supporters, Republican, and Manny Lynn, if Steve Fox and Manny Lynn both stepped aside, say, I don't know, just before all the ballots were mailed out and says, there's no way we can make it. Let's all get behind Charles Hughes. Charles Hughes would have won by far that 51%, and we wouldn't have had to waste time, effort, energy, or money, resources, going and battling between now and November. This is what I'm talking about, the overall uniting. And we should unite and we should come together because, ladies and gentlemen, they didn't here in District 34 of the State Assembly race in California. And so easily the Republicans could have had their candidate completely settled, Charles Hughes. So all of you I'm speaking to some of you, and some of them, we know one another. You know, I know some of these people that pushed certain candidates that we knew that they wouldn't win. It's not, forget whether they were good or bad or anything like that. They just could not win. And here's what's something that gets me. In situations like this, when we know that California is in such bad shape that we need some good candidates in there to help it get back on track. You know, in other words, we need Charles in there. Okay? Where was the humility? And I'm just throwing this out. Where was the humility in not only the supporters, but the candidates, Steve Fox and Manny Lynn? They look at this and go, there's no way I can win. And I don't want to split the vote. Certainly don't want two Democrats at the top where we end up with a Democrat. We can just settle this today in the primaries. If Steve Fox stepped aside and Manny Lynn stepped aside, or his supporters were just sharp enough and humble enough to look at this and go, hey, let's get behind Charles because we need a conservative in there. You know, I get it. Well, we don't like Charles for whatever reason. We don't. Listen, we're not talking about personality here. We're not talking about personal beefs. We're talking about taking back the state of California so that California, in a positive way, no longer in a negative way, but a positive way, can influence the rest of the nation and the world. So when we get so petty in a California Assembly district race, and we get so petty that we're fighting for our guy because we don't like the other guy as much, and usually it's over personality differences or some one thing. Like I've said before, I don't know that there's 100% candidate. You know, To me, the 100% candidate would be Jesus. Jesus wasn't running. So I have to just kind of take a different look at who's running, who's the best, who's the most electable, and get a strategy. And what is the strategy? Let's get behind the conservative that has the best chance of winning. Okay, because California is so far gone that we can't afford the luxury of, I'm voting for this guy because I like him or her. No, I'm voting for this Republican conservative candidate because they have the best chance of winning. We have to unite on this. We have to have a strategy. And, I've gotten to know Charles. Most people that don't like him out here, because they don't really know Charles, they don't really know what he stands for, what he really believes. And they, how can I say this? There was an issue a few years ago that Charles was part of, and a lot of people didn't like it. And so they don't like him because of this one, listen, ladies and gentlemen, one issue. One issue. And when I say issue, ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't something like illegal. It wasn't fraud. It wasn't some kind of scandal. They just didn't like it. And after getting to know Charles and understanding more about that one issue, and if I have Charles on, if I'm able to rope him in, he's very busy right now, as you can imagine. We'll talk about it. But most people don't understand it. They keep believing the lies, and the deceit floating around about it. So, we almost lost District 34 again to a Democrat because people aren't willing to put aside their personality differences, personal differences, for something much bigger and much greater. It's kind of embarrassing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just telling you this. It's embarrassing. And we need to put away our own self-pride and go, we're gonna take this district, we're gonna make it red, keep it red, and we're going to make California red, because we're working a strategy, not a personality. We're voting with our brain, not our emotions. Okay, and that's something that the Democrats do. I don't want to be anything like the Democrats, to be honest with you. They vote with their heart. They vote with their feelings. I refuse to, because I don't want to vote like them, because I've seen what their kind of voting gets us in California. I want to vote with my intellect, with my brain. I want to vote with what's up here in my cranial cavity, not what's beating in my chest. I know we've been told in songs, music, and by self-help gurus, follow your heart. The Bible says our heart is the most wicked. It doesn't mean automatically you have a wicked heart. What it means is that your heart can be given to wickedness because of feelings. And if you have a problem understanding it, just look at the state of California, because so many people voted with their emotions, their heart, and keep putting these Democrats in, such as Gavin Newsom, surrounded by all that wickedness and witchcraft, and it's destroyed this. I mean, just drive down to downtown LA and look at the homeless problem, And another run, I don't have numbers in front of me because this is for LA City mayor, the mayor of LA City. And I don't live in the city, so this doesn't affect me in the direct sense as far as voting. It does affect me because I live in LA County, but I can't vote for the mayor of LA City. And who's running? We have Karen Bass, who is an absolute failure. She's a Democrat, an absolute failure, and very, very, very wicked. Her policies and the things that she has been doing, very wicked. Again, lots of fraud, lots of waste. And then Spencer Pratt. Remember that name, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're in LA City anywhere and you're able to vote for the mayor come November, Pratt all the way. He was one of the ones that lost his house in the Palisades fire. And in many ways, Karen Bass is responsible for it. Now, I'm not saying she didn't light the fire, but her policies led to absolute disaster. There was no water. There was no water to put out all those fires. So what were people doing? They were just standing by watching their homes and their lives burn away, and nobody could do anything about it. Why? Because Karen Bass's policies. So now Spencer Pratt ticked off. He's running, and we need an angry conservative in there. I'm being honest with you. We need a level-headed, angry conservative who's going to start turning around all of these failed policies of the Democrat left and get Los Angeles back. Because the reality of it is Los Angeles is not just big enough, but influential enough that it will influence the whole state. That's why it's important to me, even though I can't vote in that election because I don't live within those boundaries. But it still affects me, especially I'm in LA County. So please, Spencer Pratt, we're praying for you, and we want you in there. And keep a level head, but also keep that anger going so that when you get in there, you have the level head to get things done, but the anger to drive you towards greater levels of righteousness. And don't worry about that, ladies and gentlemen. The Bible, and that's why I always come back to the Bible. The Bible says, be angry, but don't sin. Use that anger in righteousness to push you towards righteousness. Don't become complacent to wickedness. Keep that anger and keep it pointed at that wickedness that is Karen Bass and her policies. So anyways, with that, so my number one message to everybody, conservatives, Republicans, we've got to get behind. It doesn't matter if your guy did good or bad or anything. If your guy didn't make it or can't make it, let's get behind the top level Republican running in all of these places. Get behind them. Unite as one man, one voice, and as one, and let's make sure that they get in office so we can take California back. We can take Los Angeles back. We can take District 34 back. We can take California back, and we can make sure that all of these districts, cities, and the state is run by solid, decent, conservative people. Are you with me? I sure hope you're with me. And again, Mr. Bianco, I really wanted you and Hilton at the top, you two at the top. I really wanted that. That would have been great. But please don't give up. Don't give up. This is your first time running, if I understand it, outside of being, sheriff, of course. Do it again. Do it again. Regroup, re-strategize, do it again. Continue to, meet and greet people, hug necks and kiss babies, shake hands, I should say, because if you hug too many people, that's weird. But anyways, shake hands and kiss babies and really let your name grow, that name recognition, because I do believe you're going to be a strong leader. You're already a strong leader as far as sheriff is concerned, but a strong leader in other areas, and maybe as governor. So anyways, I thank you for running, and I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for standing. I do thank you for standing strong behind Bianco. I really do, and I mean that. But now it's time to refocus, unite, and get behind Steve Hilton. And if you're in District 34, get behind Charles Hughes. And again, I'm going to do my best to get Charles Hughes on here soon, hopefully in the next few days, and so you can meet him and hear what he has to say. All right? God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get out there in November and turn this state around as one. My God.